What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Thursday, May 26th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. Well, I am doing better. If you watched or listened yesterday, you know that I woke up with this incredible sinus headache, like nothing I'd ever experienced. And after the show, I sat here as still and quiet as I could and got up the energy to go to the drugstore and get some nasal spray because it was the only thing I could think of, and it helped tremendously. And I actually had a fairly productive day yesterday. I was able to meet all my obligations. I went and did 3 hours with a client working on their website. It all went pretty well. Woke up this morning, things were better than they were yesterday morning, but trying to get back to that place where I don't feel so rough. Good morning to Jenny. Good morning to Nathan. Good morning to all of you, whether you're watching live or watching later or listening. Thanks for coming by. Good morning, Dennis. I hope you all had as productive a day as I did or more. I hope you did not experience anything remotely approaching the discomfort and pain that I did and honestly still am. It is unfun. So it's Thursday. We've got an episode. Let's see what this episode is. We're going to fire this up. I'm going to tell you what episode of Martial Arts Radio we got. Good morning, Andy. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Q&A number 15. Which, if am I correct? This is the one that didn't air. Yep. This is the one that Andrew and I did over Zoom. Nobody's seen this one before. We didn't do it live. We didn't have a chance to, just between schedules and everything. I'm laughing at Brian in the chat. So check it out. Q&A episodes are fun. We have a good time. I have to say, Andrew and I are getting better at our on-screen chemistry. He's a good friend. He's become an even better friend. And in spending that time together, doing other things, I think that comes through in the quality of our conversation on the episodes. So if you want to let me know what you did yesterday in the chat, or what you're looking forward to today, what you are looking forward to today, you can do that. I would appreciate that. Now today, we have a whistlekick team meeting, which a number of you will be at. Client meeting. Technically, it's a client meeting. I don't remember what else, but and then there's another meeting. And if I can get my brain right, I'm going to get outside and work in the garden because I haven't been able to do that since Monday. And it's kind of making me sad. There's so much to do. Jenny's agreeing with me. Andrew really is a good human. Glad to have connected with him through whistlekick. I couldn't agree more. He's a good guy. There was something that popped up yesterday, and we were discussing over Messenger, and we had a disagreement, not in any kind of negative way, in a constructive way. And I appreciate that he's comfortable enough telling me how he feels and disagreeing. I disagree with you. That's important. I need that. Yeah. I'm not expecting to do as much today as I did yesterday. I'm probably going to take a few naps because this headache thing is rough. It's kind of rough. Once we're done here, I'll probably eat some light food and take something. So, Frank sent over something for us, and my brain is good enough. We're going to get through this conversation about movies. So just a reminder, it's over on Facebook. You can add to it, or you can just think about what you want to add when we start talking about it. Scenario: someone has never seen a martial arts film and asks what they should see first. What do you say? But first, we're going to switch over. Frank gave us something here that is May is Gifts from the Garden month. There's a lot of months. There's only 12 months, but there's a lot of month for this. It's really interesting. Some of them, of course, are official government things. Most of them, I think, are just, I'm going to declare this. Did you know June was my birthday month? June's my month. So if May is Gifts from the Garden month, what gifts from your garden do you enjoy giving others? It's anything and everything. For example, there was somebody who came by the other day and they were taking a look at some of the things I had growing, and she'd never heard of Jerusalem artichokes. So I pulled one out of the ground. I said, here you go. Plant it somewhere and make sure it's contained because it will spread like crazy. And then, oh, she was talking about killing plants. So I gave her a little spider plant in a pot. So I do that all the time. I give people apples and applesauce, blueberries, and with what I'm expecting out of the garden this year, probably squash, because I don't think I'm going to be able to store the amount of squash that will grow. Fingers crossed. We will see. Good morning, Mark. What's next? What gifts from other people's gardens have you enjoyed receiving? Anything. Anything. There's a kind of this joke in Maine, and I'm sure it applies in other places too, that there's about a 2-week period where if you don't lock your cars, you'll get back to your car and find a bag of zucchini, because zucchini just gets so prolific. I think I planted 2. It's a great plant, good food, but man, once they get going, they are crazy. And I'm testing something this year with the squash. So, you ever had a compost pile and you throw some old squash in it? Pardon me. And the next year, that squash goes crazy. It kind of rotted into the loose, not quite soiled compost, but does amazingly well. I put together 5 beds for squashes, and that's what's in it. Compost from the last couple of years. It hasn't quite broken down. And knock on wood, we'll see how it does. And then our last one here. What is something you wish you had more of to give from your garden? Everybody likes the maple syrup that I make, and I wish there was more. I ended up with a quart this year, and a quart of maple syrup for one person is plenty for a year. A quart of maple syrup for all of my friends, not even close. Same thing with the birch syrup. Got more than enough. So there we go. Thanks, Frank. All right, let's get into this. This is big. This is big stuff. I'm going to share this screen so you guys can see it. Waiting for the computer to catch up. Okay. And here we are. Here's the question. Someone has never seen a martial arts film and asks asks you what they should see. What do you say? And we've got a bunch of comments here. So this is where I'm probably gonna trash half of your suggestions. So here's what I'm imagining with this question. Somebody comes up to you, a friend, they know you train, they've never watched a martial arts movie. They've probably tried to watch a few of them on Netflix, and they're like, man, these are just, they're not very good. Because let's face it, the majority of martial arts movies were done with low budgets through the 70s and 80s. And maybe I shouldn't say majority, but a lot of the ones that we have access to now, they're subtitled, and they're not the type of thing that most people are going to step into easily. So Brian says, no retreat, no surrender. an absolute favorite movie growing up as far as martial arts. I'm certain that is the movie that got me into studying years later. But how has it aged? If you watched it now for the first time, would it have the same impact on you? I suspect not. And Tommy's suggestions are mostly similar: Enter the Dragon, Drunken Master, Revolt of the Dragon, Way of the Dragon, Above the Law. But there's one that's jumping out of here: Shang-Chi. I don't know how much I would call Shang-Chi a martial arts film, but there is plenty of good martial arts in there. I really like that movie. So kudos to you, Tommy. I'll give you that one. I like that. What's this reply here? Mark's agreeing. Dennis says Rush Hour 2, and I think the Rush Hour series is a great option. And for those of you who may say, well, those aren't martial arts films, according to the Motion Picture Association of America, they actually are. And they're not only martial arts films. I believe Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3 hold the top 3 slots for box office revenue in martial arts world. A Force of One. Dennis, you want people to watch A Force of One? No one's going to want to train or watch any movie ever again. They might hurt themselves if they watch A Force of One. It's not. Kung Fu Panda. Okay. And then depending on their personality type, this last suggestion here, The Last Dragon, could work. There are people who would like that movie. There's a style to it that I can see some people really, really getting into. Take care, Andy. Gad says, for a classic, Enter the Dragon. For a modern classic, The Raid. Again, Enter the Dragon, if you've never seen it before, you sit down and watch it. It's cheesy. It's good, but it's cheesy. I think, with the possible exception of horror films, which are not my genre, martial arts films are really the only genre where we make excuses for the cheesiness of a film. We're like, yeah, it's kind of cheesy, but we don't make that excuse for most other films, at least broad generalizations. And The Raid, while a good movie, is incredibly violent, and it may be too much for a lot of people to step into. Again, depends on the personality. Chris says, Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. I am unfamiliar with this film. I asked Chris why. He says, why am I the only one who had to show their work? And then he adds on, great question. After a moment's reflection, there are 3 reasons I can think of. 1, pop culture significance. After years of stunting, this was the first big starring role for Jackie Chan. Director Yen Wu-ping and Jackie created the kung fu comedy with this one. Their next film was The Notorious Drunken Master. Hilarious bits throughout, with super amazing fighting and a charming mentor-student relationship between Jackie and the great Yen Siu Tian. 2, it's funny. Folks new to martial arts films could be put off if it's grossly violent and super heavy in tone. This has laughs in all the right places. It's like Star Trek 4. Non-Star Trek fans really like that one because it's funny. Great points. And 3, it's the first one I thought of. Ha, I love it. Tommy seems to agree with that suggestion. Daniel says, actual answer, either Enter the Dragon or Bloodsport. Maybe I should have specified that the goal of sharing a movie with someone was that they would want to watch movies again. That they would enjoy watching the movie and they would watch the whole thing. And then when they were done, they might ask you for future suggestions. Eric says, Kickboxer. So there you go. A lot of movies that I don't think would accomplish the goal that I had, that admittedly I wasn't terribly explicit on. Go away, widget. Why are you here? Stop this. Stupid widget. Jenny says movies that are more crossover, like Shang-Chi, would work well. Doing too much of a full-on martial arts movie could be too much for a first martial arts movie. I agree. Dennis says, sure, watch A Force of One and invite them to train with Superfoot. So I think I've shared this with Dennis. I'll share this with I'll share this with all of you. If you've never seen A Force of One, it's a Chuck Norris film. Bill Wallace is in it. He has a character he plays sort of a villain. It's not a really well. No, I guess he is a villain. I don't think we have to qualify it. And his name is Sparky in the film. And there's a point where somebody says, Sparky, no! And the sarcastic part of me has really struggled in the time that I've known Bill Wallace to not just say that at opportune times. Sparky, no! Because I'm sure he would find it funny, but he would also be mad at me for saying it publicly. I don't know how it would go over, so I haven't done it. Jenny says, if you're trying to recommend an album from your favorite band, you tell folks to listen to the album that is more widely appreciated, not the deeper stuff that only the longtime fans enjoyed, even if it's an amazing album. You have to indoctrinate people slowly. Exactly. You're not going to pick up your favorite B-side, Italian import that you hunted 6 years for because it's got, the drum roll at the beginning of that one song and no other version has that. And, despite that being your favorite album from them, you're not going to give that to somebody. Jenny's making a great point here. You want something that is the things that make a movie worth watching are fairly universal. A good story, interesting and relatable characters, excitement, tension. And that rules out just about anything with subtitles. Jenny says, A Force of One is on my watch list. Mark says Beverly Hills Ninja. Not a bad choice. Definitely not a bad choice. I don't know that I've ever seen that, though. That's the Chris Farley one, right? So I think when I think of this, another movie that I've heard people say, well, really the first martial arts movie, Billy Jack. I like Billy Jack. It's not a good movie. You can like something that's not good. It's okay. And you don't have to justify why you like bad movies. Well, maybe you do, but just not today, not in this context. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon for the right personality type can work if they can tolerate subtitles. Most people can't tolerate subtitles. But I think something like Rush Hour works really well. The Raid and John Wick for more modern audiences who appreciate violence. Yeah, those are the ones that are really coming to mind for me. Oh, Josh says Karate Kid. It's one of his all-time favorites. Karate Kid is an interesting choice because it is one of those films that is so greater than the sum of its parts. We've talked about this. We've done a whole episode on Karate Kid. That despite poor acting, poor dialogue, poor cinematography, it works and it's a good movie. The question is whether or not someone would remain with an open mind. Because let's face it, the beginning of the movie, you're like, okay, what's going on? Right? It's now 30 years old, 40 years old, almost 40 years old. Yeah. And not all movies age well. I would say that even though it's blasphemous in the martial arts community, the remake of Karate Kid would probably do better for most people, especially if you're like, that's Jackie Chan and that's Jaden Smith. And people are like, oh, okay. So there are some notable actors in it. Dennis says Cobra Kai is so much better in his opinion. Josh says, my favorite, to be honest, is Big Trouble in Little China. Not really a martial arts movie, but some fun martial arts in there. And Jenny's agreeing with Dennis. I hear about a lot of folks who weren't fans of the Karate Kid who were absolutely in love with Cobra Kai. And Jenny loves Big Trouble in Little China too. So, what was the point of this? I wanted you to try to put yourself in the mindset of someone who hasn't trained, who doesn't know anything about martial arts, but you might want to get them excited about martial arts, get them interested in martial arts. And I would encourage you, for those of you who named off some of these movies that I got to say, I think are your personal favorites, and you're forgetting the empathy of what it's like to be someone who doesn't know anything about martial arts and would be watching that movie now in 2022. I think you should spend some time thinking about that. If you, let's say you had a martial arts school and you could pick one movie to show at local theaters that with a, let's say, like a commercial before and after for your school. And the idea was that you would connect the dots between that martial arts film and your school. So hopefully you would get new students. What would that movie be? Think about it. So there we are. And that's where we're going to end. I'm glad we got through that. Thank you, everyone, for indulging me. I know I picked on most of your suggestions, but that's my job. Hopefully, I did so in a way that you understood what I was saying. And if not, I'm sorry. Remember, we do this show every weekday, 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, on Facebook, on YouTube, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We're on Twitter, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like today, we are on Twitch. My eyes are watering like crazy, so I'm not going to look at the screen. If you want to support us, we've got a Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick, or you can use the code FIRSTCUP15 at whistlekick.com. Find the full list at whistlekick.com/family. I updated the family page yesterday. If you have questions or comments, take a look at the Facebook page. Watch for something that we may put up for tomorrow. Although maybe not, because tomorrow's Friday and it's Jokes Day, and Frank's probably going to give us a bunch of good jokes. But that's where we post stuff, and that's where you can post stuff. Josh says, Three Ninjas is also fun for a preteen audience. Might be a little dated since no one has cell phones. And Kelly, yep, you're right. It would also depend on what age group you were wanting to attract to the martial arts. Dennis says, it's a long weekend. Make sure to check out Best of the Best. Ha. And Jenny says, most of why I love the Karate Kid comes from my love for martial arts and the relationship between student and teacher. And Jenny's got my back. Yeah, if you want to have a miserable weekend. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming by. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We will have a show on Monday. And of course, we'll have a show tomorrow. So take care. Be well. See you tomorrow.